wonderful poetry to remember her by. So, and that she has a forthcoming book. I did not know about that.
Yeah, it's going to be really,
Wow.
interesting.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you. And so now we will begin with our first featured reader of the night. Whenever we started the reading series last year, I approached my professors at St. Edward's and was like, what peers of mine have I not had the opportunity to read or have their work shared with me? And it was always Jade Yamamoto, and I'm so glad that she finally had the opportunity to come and join us today. And a little bit about her is she's an alumna from St. Edward's University. She graduated this past December with a bachelor's in English writing and rhetoric and a specialization in creative writing. Currently, she works part-time at Book People, Austin's largest independent bookstore located on North Lamar, and she divides her spare time between reading, Netflix binges, and trying to tame her unruly Jack Russell Terrier. Bonus trivia fact: no ice cream flavor is wrong, but Jade's favorite flavor tends to have chocolate in them. All right, Jade, come on up and join us on stage.
Right. I'm gonna set a timer so I don't bore you guys for too long. I also apologize. I've come down with a case of the allergies, or God only knows, so I sound a little bit Elmer Fuddie tonight. I apologize. But here we go. I'm going to read a couple of short stories and a couple of poem pieces as well. This first one is a short story entitled 10 Things to Leave Out of Your Future Autobiography. Number 1, your earliest memory is not a happy one. You are 2 years old and hungry, starving, though you do not know this word yet. Still, it gnaws at your gut all the same as you rock in your high chair back and forth, screaming. You cannot stop screaming, cannot even breathe. Snot runs into your mouth thick and salty and warm. In front of you, your mother is screaming too. She grabs your empty sippy cup and hurtles it at the back of your father's retreating head. Your father doesn't stop leaving. Your mother doesn't stop screaming. You never stop being hungry. 2, your mother named you Stephen. Stephen, not Steve, and never Stevie. 8 years old and curious, you wonder why, and ask her. Think it may be a family heirloom. Something at last that you can keep for yourself. She laughs at the question, head thrown back and yellow teeth bared. It is a cold laugh, and her words are blades of ice. I thought I was being funny, she says. Stephen. Looked it up in one of those baby books, you know. It means crowned one or wealth. Ain't that fucking hilarious? You nod and laugh because your mother is watching, but when she falls asleep, you shiver in your bed and yearn for the riches your name entitles you to. It doesn't have to be a crown, you think. It really doesn't. You'd settle for some socks without holes in them, or for the men to come turn the lights back on again. 3, when you're 10 years old, you steal a $20 bill out of your mother's purse. It's early December and cold outside. Snow clings to your eyelashes and seeps into the soles of your tennis shoes until it feels like nothing exists below your ankles. You shake most days, not enough fat on your bird hollow bones to keep you warm, and you bite your nails down to the quick just to prove that you can feel them. When you take that $20, you hide it under your mattress for 2 days, terrified. But your mother never notices, never wakes up long enough to miss it. So you come home the next day with a black coat 3 sizes too big draped over your shoulders, and a warm meal filling your belly. In your pocket, instead of a receipt that says Finders Keepers Thrift Shop, there's a pair of thick, warm socks. Your mother squints at the coat, blinks slowly 4 times, with the snow creeping through her veins silence any questions. Number 4, stealing gets easier. You get good at it. You learn when to smile and when to duck your head. Learn that a grin can be as disarming as the Swiss Army knife in your pocket. Always you keep moving. You don't see this as an accomplishment. 5, the first time you get arrested, you are 15. It is not a good memory. The cop chases you for 2 blocks before face-planting you into the curb. You spin in his face when he folds you into the backseat of the squad car, complain loudly that you've lost all feelings in your hands, handcuffed at the small of your back. The cop ignores you. Through the window you watch as he combs through what he found in your pockets. 3 wallets, Rita Jones, Carlisle Spencer, Douglas Beachy. 2 watches, 1 Gucci, 1 Seiko, both more expensive than the place you grew up in. A Twix wrapper, a Swiss Army pocket knife, and 68 cents. At the police station, Officer Wallen asks you why so many times the word stops being a word. The first 50 times you don't say a thing. At repeat 103, as the clock strikes 1 a.m. and your mother still has not shown up to bail you out, you bare your teeth in the mockery of a smile and say, "The name's Stephen," as if that's any explanation at all, because really, it's all the explanation you need. 6. In your senior year of high school, there's this teacher, Mr. Morgan. He tells you strange things, says odd words like creative, intelligent, potential. The weirdest things is, he directs these words at you. For a little while, you almost believe him. Then fall turns to winter, and it starts to get cold again. The fridge gets emptier, your clothes more threadbare. They turn off the water on Thanksgiving, and well, Mr. Morgan doesn't know anything. You spend Christmas Eve in jail. 7. Over the years, you learn that police stations all look the same, and a cop in the Bronx is just as much of a dickhead as one in Chicago and Salt Lake City and San Francisco. These things are true in the way Plato understood, absolutely and unequivocally. But you make it a game to match holding cell paint colors, argue the merits of a New Jersey officer's pork chop sideburns against a Tallahassee detective's 70s imitation porn stash. You keep notes of these things jotted down on dirty napkins and parking tickets and stuff them into the bottom of your bag. You tell yourself you'll write a book about them one day, all these American stories and details coalescing into meaning. It'll be a bestseller. You'll make something of yourself. You just gotta quell the restless tick of your fingers first, this aching wanderlust in your veins. 8. A man in Baton Rouge tells you he has a cure for the disquiet in your heart. He pulls out a small baggie, and inside is a spoon, a needle, and your mother's snow. You consider the baggie and think of all the things you have yet to do, all the blank spaces still on your map. For some reason, out of nowhere, you remember the first essay Mr. Morgan gave you an A on. It was about the etymology of names. In the end, you take the baggie from the man and hand over a $20 bill. But you'll write that book soon, you will, you swear it. Someday you'll come into everything you're entitled to. After all, you aren't your mother. 9. At the age of 25, all that you amounts to fits inside a duffel bag you nicked from Lifelong Thrift Store in Seattle. You sit on the end of a hotel bed and dump your entire life onto a green quilt that has seen better decades. A pill bottle collides with your knee, Prozac 80 milligrams. Actually, in your name, they are long since expired and only half were ever taken. Everything else is mostly socks, underwear, 3 t-shirts. You are wearing your only pair of jeans. A book of poetry, and according to your mother, your father was a poet and a good-for-nothing jackass, has fallen to the floor, but you don't bother to pick it up. You search for the empty tin of Altoids and shake when it finally rattles between your fingertips. Inside is a thin gold chain, antiqued and slightly tarnished, which means the metal is far from pure. You were not surprised, however. It was your mother's. 10. As you walk to the pawn shop, you trace the marks on your arm with bitten down nails. They form the Corona Borealis constellation. It starts to snow. The end. All right, so I got a poem here for you next, a little shorter. This one is called Electrical Impulses and Existentialism. I know that there are more than 1,000 billion neurons in the human brain, static thunderstorms, unstoppable forces of human nature operating frail bodies of threading proteins, reacting chemicals. I know that it only takes 1 billion volts for lightning to strike sand, fractal into fulgurites, fracture dirt and rock and bone to form something frangible. How many volts then would it take to maintain the imprint of a ghost? If a man dies in the vicinity of an electrical line, then what is the rate of transfer? If there is a rate of transfer, then how does one quantify the human soul? These things I don't know. But it happens, sure it happens. It is all just a transfer of energy, a leap of faith from electron to electron. In life, we exist in the spaces between snapping neurons. After, there is little difference in living between the sparks of twining wires. You don't believe me, I know, but it happens, sure it happens. Imagine you are in the hospital. Imagine you are undergoing a simple procedure, something small like inserting an IV port. The doctors wheel you away from your family who are discussing what they will have for dinner tonight. Meatloaf or linguine, tilapia or pork chops. It is all very simple. Now imagine something goes wrong in the operating room. You are allergic to the anesthesia, or the surgeon nicks an artery, or the room's been contaminated, or a madman with a gun breaks in, or maybe you are just too old for this procedure, and your body gives out like a light turning off. Easy. So then you're dead, but there's a catch, a loophole made out of wires and electrodes. The doctors try to shock you back into rhythm. You feel the electricity like a horse kicking you in the chest, like a bolt of lightning grounding itself through your solar plexus. Your heart is too weak to continue on, but the currents in it are not. The nerve's still online. That energy has to go somewhere, like matter cannot be created or destroyed. So it takes the path of least resistance, searches out other forces like itself, like water droplets drawn to each other. It's cohesion, and there are electrodes taped to your body. Imagine that they are taped all over your body, and they are connected to a machine that is connected to an outlet in the wall that is, well, you see where I'm going with this. What I'm trying to tell you is that there are ghosts in the power lines. I know this. It happens. It happened to me. There are ghosts in the power lines, and I am one of them. And there are power lines all over the world, always some form of electricity, some form of energy. It's inescapable, unavoidable, but it's frustrating. So frustrating. You see, energy and matter can interact, but they cannot communicate. They do not share the same language, the same physics. Years after my death, the night my son cut off his thumb with a circular saw in the back shed, there was this moment, right before the moment it happened. The lights on the workshop table flickered and dimmed. The saw stuttered. The radio crackled. I was trying in my own way to remind him against using power tools at night. But I am energy, and he is energy trapped in matter. We do not share the same language. Before I could short-circuit the breaker, the saw shuddered back to life, jagged teeth catching on wood. Right before the saw bit through bone. The end. Vocal quality. Right. This is a short story titled Night Fishing. The bay is dark, pitch black, and there's a sound over the water, sonorous like whale song, lonely and echoing, the sound of a great beast in the great blue. I turn to look, but there's only the black water, the shore and the lights in the distance flashing dimly. Unsteady, I sway from side to side, trying to trace reverberations, imagining ripples on dark water. The beast continues to bellow somewhere in the dark, a jagged, sustaining note, so close my teeth grit together roughly, sand between my molars, caught stinging in the corners of my mouth. And that's when I see it, a darker shadow against the gloom, looming over us, barreling toward us, blotting out the lights along the far shore. And in front of me, my father is saying, don't worry, we'll make it." My fingers clench around the wood pole in my hand, knuckles pale as the absent moonlight, the new moon sky endless and breathing above us, breathing down the back of my neck. I glance at my father, eyes skittering down the tense muscles in his shoulder, the rigid line of his spine. There's a rhythmic clicking sound, the sound of a tumbler turning, followed by a hollow clatter of metal, a sputter of machinery. My father quietly cursing. God damn it, fucking start already. The boat doesn't listen to him now any more than it has the past half hour. The engine coughs weakly once, twice, the third time erased by another booming bellow, before turning over in its watery grave again. The battery is dead, and what's dead stays dead, and what is living still may die, dark and small and invisible on the dark water. My father seems to finally remember this and gives up the ghost, snapping up the other oar. He glances back at me, my own oar shaking in the dark, and then he glances over and up at the barge cutting towards us through the ferry channel, unseeing blindly, cutting towards us, a stranded little fishing boat, a sitting little duck sitting in the way. If we can get behind it, we can catch the wake to shore, my father says. He is using the tone that means he's making shit up as he goes along. It's the tone he first introduced night fishing with. We just have to time it right, he assures me. That's all. I laugh to spite myself, lick the salt from my lips, taste metal on the back of my tongue. Dad, I say, you're never on time. The bay is dark and there's a sound over the water, sonorous like whale song. But even in the gloom, I can see the shadow of my father's grin, wild to match the gleam I can imagine is in his eyes. That's the fun part, he says. And then he slices his oar through the water, and I have no choice but to follow, my own oar clattering against the other side of the boat, the muscles in my shoulders contracting sharply, my heart caught between systole and distole, forgotten fishing poles and bait rolling around my ankles. The end. All right, I got 2 little short poems for you left. This one's called Catharsis, or translation, I'm not sleeping much. I had 5 nights, 5 dreams of you, 5 dreams in a row. In them you were always about to leave, leaving, already gone. Staring at the line of your spine, I tried to find the message, the map, hidden in the freckles across your shoulders. But mercy was never one of your strong suits. The dog is always there too, eating from the palm of your hand. Or is it me? Either way, we make sure not to leave a single spot. Unable to kick the habit, I still smoke in our spot out beneath the stairs outside my apartment, watching the rows of ants crawling along the cracks in the sidewalk, eating their way through the carcass of a beetle until it is gone. They say that nature does not know the concept of mercy. Show me proof that mercy exists at all. Give me an example. Draw me a map. Sometimes after you had left, I'd press my fingers to fresh bruises, map the progression of your conquest through the stinging spots curling down my neck. Your teeth were always sharp and without mercy, but your smile was wide and white, beguiling, everything straight and in a row. I didn't know that you were always waiting to be gone. I didn't know that you were a shark, already eating. Perhaps that should have been the first sign, the eating, or rather the lack of interest in eating, in me. If I could sketch out our time together like a map, how many signposts along the way would warn that you weren't as gone on me as I was on you? Would I be able to spot the hazard signs, the flashing lights stretched out in rows? Would it have been better to know? Would it have been a mercy? It took me 5 days to accept that you were gone. Total radial silence, a vanishing act to impress Houdini. It was as blunt as a mercy killing. I remember the moment I understood you weren't coming back, the spot beneath my ribs trembling, a shifting sensation like tectonic plates, the land eating itself, destroying itself, my chest a mimicking earthquake, trying to destroy the map between my heart and brain, the memories, the feelings, my ribs collapsing in rows. You've been gone for a while now, all these months laid out in a row. Sometimes I think I spot you in the city, and I avert my eyes, map out escape routes in my head. I think about mercy a lot, and wonder what you are eating. The end. All right, last one, I promise. I think some college-age students can relate to this one. I know that, it was a doozy to write. All right, congratulations, you're almost a college grad. It happens in mid-November, this slow, encroaching realization, like a glacier skirting across the horizon of my conscious mind. I have a month left, just 1 month to live the life I have always managed, the life of a child, full of grasping hands, easy desires. and even easier solutions. But the goal does not last, as we all know, and the world continues to turn on its tilted axis as I slide off the edge of the world into the void of adulthood. Chaos in its truest sense, directionless, disorienting, dire. At night, when I smoke on the stairs outside my apartment, I look into the sky and can't find the stars where they should be. Some nights I can't find them at all. And the days seem darker too, the sun somehow dimmer in the hours it still has left to shine. It seems like afternoon all day, like the sun knows it is setting on an era, on me. So what now, the night asks me. I open my clenched fingers and ash falls out. Where are you going, my heart beats in inquiry. Where are you going, the cold wind repeats. I look into the mirror and ask my reflection, where do I go? What do I do? A mouthful of yellowing teeth answers, the hell if I know.